Well, hello, and welcome back to Holy Shift, where we talk about all things consciousness shifting. I'm Stephanie Gray. I'm your host. I appreciate you coming back or being here for the first time. Sometimes I do this solo, but I want to start bringing in my friends. And so that for the third time now, I have guests, and I'm so excited to introduce Laurie Hewitt and Douglas Pratt. Um, and today we're going to talk about interstellar beings and the shift in consciousness. So before we get too far ahead on that, I would love if Laurie, you would introduce yourself and just a little bit about what you are, what you do, and then Douglas, you can go right after that.
Okay.
Well, I'm Laurie, and I call myself a channel, and I receive messages from beings of light, your guides, angels, a group I call your soul council that you meet in between lives to help plan your life. I'm a retired, recovering social worker. I worked in the mental health and kind of health. I worked in hospice for a long time as well. And so I've been retired now for a few years and just really settling into being a channel and offering those my gifts to others.
Beautiful. And you're doing a great job of it.
Thank you. I love
Thanks,
it.
Laurie.
Okay. I'm Douglas, and I am. I spent 40 years as a psychotherapist in private practice, and have moved on, retired from that. And but I continue to work with individuals and folks around spiritual awakening, spiritual unfolding. I offer what's called a quantum soul regression, which is a way to help folks connect up with their spiritual team, their spiritual guide, and and help them begin to understand their larger experience of themselves beyond the third dimension, the physical being. And the sessions are delightful, and working with folks in this way is really gratifying for me. And it's fun to facilitate those awakenings and those aha moments and those experiences that they have vis-a-vis those sessions.
Mm. Yes, and there I've worked with both these folks and you guys are amazing. And the reason I've asked them on today is because we all three, in our own way, have begun to have interactions with interstellar beings. Um, and so let's talk about that. I know, some people may not be familiar or maybe all too familiar, and that's why they're watching this. But I guess my first question with you both is there a shift in consciousness happening? Do you really believe that there is something shifting on the planet? And then, if that's the case, what part do interstellar beings or ETs, however, whatever words you want to use, how are they helping with the shift, or are they at all?
Who wants to go first?
Go for it, Laurie.
I'll jump in. All right. Yes, I think contrary to how it looks right now in our world and especially our country, I do believe there is a definite shift in consciousness that is occurring, and that many folks, and we see this with the meetups that we all belong to, I think many folks are awakening, realizing there's more than just this physical life, this third dimension, and they are seeking that way of opening up their minds, connecting more with their soul self, and really raising that consciousness. I can feel it and I can see it in others that I talk with and interact with on a regular basis. So it's really exciting. I just think things are shifting, and it can be a challenge right now. And I think the more of us who can stay in that light, stay centered, the more the consciousness raises. It feels like my frequency has certainly, and vibration has certainly risen over the past few years. And I know that's from that consciousness also raising. And I feel that in others around me. And one of the ways I've sort of marked it is that people who aren't doing that, whose frequency isn't raising, are sort of fading away. out of my life in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like we just don't match up anymore.
Yeah, for sure. And there is that frequency difference. It's not saying one is better than the other. It's just
Right,
saying that it's a non-match at this point.
right,
Right.
And
right.
so I'll go to Douglas, and then I want to go back to the second part of the question with you. But Douglas, what do you think? From what you've seen in the work that you're doing, do you believe that there's or feel that there's a shift?
I would say that my own comment is absolutely. I see it both certainly with myself. I'm not the same I was even 6 months ago. And because the changes are happening rapidly. And I certainly see it in two different ways with the clients who come into my office in terms of their awareness, where their consciousness is, what they seek in the sessions. They're much more specific because have much bigger understanding of them as well beyond just that physical three-dimensional self that they look in the mirror and see. And so I see that reflected not only with them coming in, but then with the content of the sessions themselves. It's what comes out of these sessions many, many times is stunning because it helps them understand the larger connection they have with not only their team, but with themselves, their absolute selves, with their higher self, with their soul, with their essence.
Mhm.
And that comes through in those sessions, and they walk out there with a new understanding and a more expanded understanding. So that's just very marks the question you're talking about. Um, and so I guess that would be the biggest thing that I would talk about. And that has been uh, remarkable of late.
Mm,
So I'd say not only is it occurring, it's occurring quicker and quicker because our vibration, which is correlated with our consciousness, is going up. It has been going up now for a while. So this process is not just starting, it has started and it's continuing. And those vibrations, I believe, actually come from the angelic realm, and
mm,
that they are behind helping us bring our vibration up as we continue to move forward to a place of what we're calling ascension, moving towards that fifth dimension.
mhm. And you mentioned the angelic realm helping out. Does that have anything to do with ETs or interstellars, in your opinion?
Yes, because they collaborate. They're in their world, they're not separate. We make them separate as human beings. We call them this realm, that realm. We tend to do that. We break things apart. In their experience is it's more we do this and you do that, and they very much are collaborating on this shift of consciousness and the shift of vibration on the planet. So that would be my quick answer to your question.
Excellent. That is just fine. Laurie, I want to come back to you with that second part of the question that I asked. Do you believe that interstellar beings, ETs, whatever word you use, are helping us with the shift in consciousness? Are they playing a part at all, in your opinion?
I believe they are. They are. It's interesting. When I first started working with interstellars, and they would show up in meditations, or when I was working with Douglas and channeling. And so I began working with them more personally, and I can tell, they're there helping me raise my vibration, giving me information. And then I started noticing they were coming into my sessions with individuals. Just randomly, kind of spontaneously, someone would step forward that I knew wasn't a spirit guide or an angel as we know them. It was definitely another being that would identify themselves and begin to talk with that person about who they are, where they've come from, that they've not always incarnated as a human, and help to begin to plant that seed in a way of there's so much more that you need to pay attention to.
Mm,
And I think that's been helping, at least the people I work with, to begin to expand that consciousness, to bring in that larger understanding of it's not just us, and that we have lots of beings out there that want to help us and guide us, and it's our choice to accept it or not accept it.
Okay, so and that's yes, excellent. And the other question is, I guess, Lori, if people don't accept it, what does that mean for you? Like what when you say if they accept it or don't accept it, if they don't accept it, what will happen?
I'm not sure. The interstellars basically operate the same way, with my experience, as the my spirit guides operate. I always have free will, and I can take what they say with a grain of salt and say, "Yeah, fine, thanks," and move on. Or I can take it in, sit with it, learn from it, and follow their guidance. So we always have free will. And when I'm working with the beings I work with, they're always very respectful of that. And it's really my choice. They can say, here is the information as we see it. It's your choice what you do with it, or you don't have to do anything. So then I think we just continue on the way we are and on the path we are, and perhaps don't have a shift in our frequency or a shift in our consciousness, or at least not as quickly, perhaps.
Yes, and I would agree with that. I would say it just in my own experience and then from working with various people and in different groups that we, hold together and individually that it's happening in shifts a little bit, it seems like, it and that doesn't mean one is right and one is wrong. It just means like everyone has their own pace. And you're right, it's about what what we're ready for, what we are prepared to commit to, maybe like are we prepared to shift our lifestyle and things like that. I don't know, just throwing things out there like that. But just for me, has been something pretty like when the call to shift has happened for me, it's things do shift pretty rapidly. And you know I do believe that as I worked with the interstellar beings through my art and through dreams and stuff initially, that was something that really catapulted what was going on for me. And they it seemed like, and I want your guys' opinion on this, but it seemed like they were extremely patient for a very long time, waiting until I was ready. And this isn't just interstellar beings, it's my team, but they're definitely positioned in my team. And like they found me in a way that was most comfortable for me through art and through dreams. Would you agree with that? Like they'll find you where they can. You know what I mean?
Yes, my very first encounter with an interstellar was actually many years ago. I had just moved to Colorado, so early 90s, and stepped in the middle of a meditation. It honestly kind of freaked me out a little because I knew it wasn't my guide, just the way they stepped in. And after a couple of times, I literally said, "I'm not ready for this, go away."
Hmm.
And he respectfully did. Fast forward to a few years ago, was sitting with Douglas, we were channeling, and this being stepped through with a message for Douglas, totally unexpected. I was like, who is this? Gave him the message and then promptly left. And then it was a little while later before we heard from them again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's Douglas, I feel like we could have multiple conversations about this, but Douglas was has been so transformed, I think is the word I'm going to use, that you've actually written a book about interstellars and um just the Galactic Federation. I'm wondering if you feel like just quickly talking about their role in what's happening right now, the Federation itself, and maybe what that is for people who don't know.
The Galactic Federation is kind of like the UN, the United Nations of the interstellars. I'm sure there's a whole group of agreements. The biggest one is that no difference will be settled by violence or aggression.
Mm.
That is not, cannot happen. They've already seen the end result of that in the past in the universes and the galaxies. They
Mhm.
know planets have been blown up. They have no interest in that, and they make that clear. So I think that they have actually probably more of a hand in our shifting of vibration and heading towards ascension than we probably understand, because they have the bigger picture, because they have been involved with the planet for a very, very, very long time, well beyond our history that we have noted in any kind, way, shape, or form. For myself, as Laurie noted, an interstellar being showed up in a session of ours, said he was Galador, he was Arcturian and from the Galactic Federation, and then disappeared. And it's like, say what? Hello? Anyway, it took a long time for that to make any sense to me. I was later approached by Galador, who actually at that time was the commander of the Galactic Federation. Um, and then from that unfolded a whole interaction and relationship with him and other interstellars. And I will point out that as you can see that couch behind me, that is where I would sit, and then in a non-physical meditation, go connect with the Federation, with Galador, and move around the ship and other ships as well, while I at the same time physically remained on my couch. It's a very interesting juxtaposition, shall I
Mm,
say.
absolutely. Well, and that was I was gonna definitely make sure that folks listening knew that you were, when you were speaking about, interacting and everything with interstellars, it is through a meditative state.
Right, and
Yes.
the connection is telepathic. So I get messages. I'm not good at visual, some auditory, but mostly I get messages telepathically in my mind.
Hmm.
Right.
And that's another, like, I feel like that's another piece to the puzzle, which, yes, the telepathic communication, whether it be through words or images or even song, like if you're listening to the radio, like synchronicities and all of that can be in come to play a part of connecting with interstellars. And
Her artwork is an example.
mhm,
Yes.
Yeah.
that's true. And I haven't shared a whole lot, but I will briefly say that as I was, working with something called process art, it opens you up because you're just doing art for the creative process, and that's really it, and to know yourself.
Mhm.
And as that happened, uh, beings would come through, light beings or words or whatever, and initially, when it first happened, and it happened probably within the first couple of years I was doing it, I shut it down very quickly. I that it freaked me out to no end. But as I allowed it, it became almost organic. And I have to say, for me, it's been the most spiritually expanding experience of my life so far.
Hmm. Sure.
Yeah.
You know, there's a piece I just want to throw out just for folks that are trying to make sense of all this.
Hmm.
I have been working with folks for a long time on their spiritual connection in their spiritual guide.
Mhm.
It was only a few years ago that I discovered people had more than just one guide. They had one primary guide, but they had many other guides. And even more recently, probably in the last 2 years, I made the discovery that standing in the back on those teams were interstellars. So in fact, the truth of it is, I don't know if all of us, but many of us have interstellars on our spiritual team. And
Yeah.
that they've just been waiting to come forward as we have more comfort. Because the truth is, they have absolutely no interest, investment, or willingness to create any fear within us. They won't do it. That's why as soon as Laurie and Steph said no, they back off because they do not want to create fear. They know that doesn't serve.
And the being who showed up for me all those years ago, as I became more comfortable and more open, stepped back in and I discovered, just as you said, Douglas, he's always been there in the background working with my primary guide and then stepped forward to introduce himself when I was ready. And so it's in some way comforting to know that he was very patient and waited until I was ready to step forward and introduce himself again.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. There's something about that patience and that just like willing to just like, I'll be here when you're ready, that really helped move me forward, actually. Um, I'm curious if either of you feel, well, I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask for the audience. If either of you feel like their presence um, and their what they have and want to say to the world and their part in this ascension is becoming mm, faster, more mm, that patience is there still, but I feel like there is a they want to get messages out as much as possible right now. That's sort of what I'm feeling, which was a little different from when it first started.
Mhm.
Do you feel like that's the case? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The book that I wrote, which was the channeling of different interstellars from the Federation, um, I, from being told I was going to write a book by my interstellars to publishing it was 6 weeks. I mean, when I think about what got done and how that got done, and that one for me saying, I'm going to do what? Write a book about the federations? I don't know anything about the federations. And boom, 6 weeks later, I have a book with 5 different chapters from different Federation interstellars. So that's kind of to me is an example of when things need to move, that they need to get something in place for consciousness, they can do that. And obviously, I had enough of a relationship with them that them pushing me made me, I was resistant, but I wasn't fearful of them. I was fearful of many other things,
Mm,
but not my relationship with them.
And I'm finding that almost every reading I do now, an interstellar will step in or a group will step in and talk to that individual. And that's been happening maybe over the last year or so, that it's very consistent because they're more and more wanting to connect with each person when they have the opportunity and just say, we're here, you're a part of us, we'll work with you and support you when you're ready.
absolutely. And uh, the next question I have for you guys that's coming up is, okay, somebody is listening to this and they're like,
Mhm.
wow, this is a lot of information. And I think the idea of interstellars and, craft and everything is definitely has been shifted even in mainstream media. I think it's a huge leap has occurred in what people have allowed into their belief systems. However, if there is someone out there right now who is wanting to take the step of maybe initiating and communicating with an interstellar or with their team, what what is one or two things you could suggest for them to start with?
Meditation,
Hmm.
because I think that's how I really interact with and have interacted with the beings that have come to work with me is through meditation. And so I sit quietly. I ask them. I say, I'm open. Step forward. What do you have to tell me today? And then they will step forward and bring me a message or guide me to something else that will help expand my understanding. So that's what I would suggest is meditation.
Hmm.
We're seeing Douglas.
Well, I think that meditation is the route because you move into an altered state and your ego and mind decrease their filtering.
Mhm.
Now, just so people realize, meditation can be sitting on my couch. It can be walking outside. It can be, I just want people to know whatever is where they feel connected is the way their meditation works for them. Now, I think if it's something they're really interested in, this is Laurie was saying, set the intention, put it out there, either verbally say it or say it through your mind. I would like to know that you're there. Show me something that helps confirm to me your presence. Those are my words. You put it in your words, and then you be open because especially if you're just beginning that, they're going to do things that are meaningful for you that may be subtle, but they'll be very meaningful because they know you and they know what will get your attention. So what will work for me may well not work for you, but they will know exactly what they want to do to bring that about. So and be patient with yourself. Because we get so self-critical, we're not doing it right, or I didn't do, all that sort of thing. It just gets in our way of being able to keep our connection going.
And they may show up in disguise. One of my first encounters with a group of Pleiadians, they showed up in a meditation as Hopi Indians. And for a long time, it took me a while to figure out that they weren't. I was like, this is kind of strange. And then they said, well, we're showing up this way because that's how you knew us in a lifetime together. And then they slowly revealed that they were these interstellar beings. So be open to them showing up in ways that might not make a lot of sense. My first encounter with the mantis beings, they showed up like fuzzy teddy bears. And it took me a little while. And finally, I was like, that's not really how you look. And then they finally revealed themselves, but they were careful because they did not want to frighten me.
Mhm.
So just like Douglas said, kind of be open to how they present as well.
And that brings up a point of, is it important to set your space and be very intentional before even, opening yourself up? Maybe stating, for the greatest and highest good, for the, beings of light or something. Do you have any suggestions on how to set the space before actually asking them in?
I think that you can put that out there
Mhm.
and you can call on whoever you call on, um, whoever that is. I use Archangel Michael a lot, but there's lots and lots of other beings of light to call them in and that you want an experience, but to be of the highest good and serves you the highest good, your personal highest good. I think that's always helpful because it sets an energetic parameter around you that sets more protection. So that can never, never be a problem. So, and I think it can facilitate because you'll be more comfortable.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I also want to say that, if it feels weird to do it by yourself, then that's where people like Douglas, like Laurie, even like myself through art can come in and help provide support as you are making contact or
Absolutely.
exploring your teams or however that looks. So, you're not alone. I guess putting that out there for even for myself to hear that right now. It's like we aren't alone in this.
Mm.
There are many ways we can get support, receive support from one another. And that leads me to something that I definitely want to mention before I ask you guys the last question. And that is that the three of us decided to create a group. It's a free group through Awkwardly Zen. And that is an online community that we come together monthly and gather for support and for community and for just sharing what's been going on and experiences in the Interstellar Open Forum,
Mhm.
again through Awkwardly Zen. So I'm going to link that below.
Mm.
So please check that out if you are needing just people of like minds to hang out with and to so you feel safe and you don't feel like, okay, I'm going to be labeled as crazy or whatever the situation is, because this is happening more and more, and I think we're seeing that in our community as well, that more and more people are showing up with
Mhm.
experiences. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how long have we been doing that group, Douglas?
Oh, over 3 years.
Yeah. And it's a great group.
Hmm.
And I just want to mark that for folks that are new to this, we always have some folks coming in that are very new to this.
Hmm.
So it doesn't mean you have to come in with a wealth of experiences to be able to have entry.
Yeah.
Just if you're drawn to it, it speaks to you, check it out.
Yeah, and you don't even have to participate. All you can just even leave your camera off and listen if that feels the most comfortable. But there are spaces like that popping up, and it's important that, like, part of my mission, if you will, is to provide those spaces and to bring awareness to spaces like that throughout the country and the world. So yeah, and I'm so glad to be a part of that with you guys.
Mhm.
All right. So, man, this has been an amazing conversation and it's gone very quickly. Before I let you guys go, I do want to ask you both, what is shifting in your life? And I'm gonna hit Douglas first. Douglas, what's shifting in your life?
Everything.
Right.
It's I let me see if I can say this simply and not get into all the nitty gritty. Basically, we are moving into we are in the process of ascension, moving from the third to the fifth dimension. To do that, not only does our vibration have to go up to match up with the fifth dimension, but all the things that we hold that are of lower vibration cannot sustain in that higher vibration. And so the point of this is that we get the honor of shedding everything that gets in the way. So things that I thought I took care of 30 years ago in psychotherapy are popping up, and it's like, really? And discovering there's a whole nother layer of fear that's involved with it that I need to release and shed. So the answer to your question, and that's why I say everything, because all sorts of things are changing with how I experience myself and how I experience myself with the world, as I continue to shed these very core but critical pieces.
Well said. Thanks, Doug.
Sure.
You know, and I'm in a similar process. Mine's slightly different in that I'm being asked because I'm going to be moving physically to a different location, to really let go of everything that I have, all the history that I've carried with me for 40 years, probably. But for me, that means in this moment, it means giving up pieces of furniture that I thought I could never let go of, that have deep meaning for me, that I've enjoyed, that carry the vibration of family members. And just recently in a meditation, family came forward and said, it's time. Let those pieces go. You don't need them. Let them go. Stop dragging them around,
Mhm.
which to me is also a way of really freeing myself and letting go of old beliefs, old patterns, old behavior that somehow I think might be attached to some of those pieces. So I'm in that process as well. So it does feel like, as Douglas said, everything is shifting, everything is changing. And it feels like this move for me is an opportunity. I mean, it's being guided, and it's an opportunity to really shift from this timeline I'm in right now to a completely separate one, to a new one. So it's like, I don't know what the outcome is going to be. I don't know what that's going to look like. And it's scary and it's exciting all at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah, there is that. I mean, there is so much shifting. It is pretty much on every level, and there's so much letting go.
Mhm.
There's and the fear in the body, pains that present that need to be like it's like need to come out to be moved, somatically. And it's just, yeah, it's intense. It's an intense time. And that's why I'm so dedicated to bringing people like you all on to creating community, to creating support. And I just feel like it's so important. So please, folks, if you feel the nudge to have some support in your life, go ahead and check out the links that I'm going to drop down below, and join us on the second Monday of the month, through Awkwardly Zen, and see what it's all about. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, you guys. As always, it's a delight. And maybe as things progress on the planet, we'll meet up again and have another conversation, because I feel like it's gonna be necessary.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. All right, everyone. Thanks again for showing up, and we'll see you next time.